For as long as I can remember, I've always been into mysteries. Things like UFOs, conspiracies, hidden knowledge and all the rest. Naturally, this has led me to the various outlets that dispense this kind of information. People like David Icke, David Wilcock and Infowars.com. Another one of these outlets was Red Ice Radio, who have long been one of the best truther radios on the internet. For years, Red Ice covered things like 9/11, UFO, suppressed energy, the banking system, the Rothschilds, and all the usual conspiracy porn that truther nerds like me get off on. And for about 10 years from 2005 to 2015, Red Ice were the go-to source for that kind of information. Then around 2015, something happened with Red Ice Radio. Almost instantly, pretty much overnight, they stopped talking about things like 9/11 and began to focus almost exclusively on mass immigration into Europe. Now, I'm thinking, oh my god, what are they doing? Why are they talking about immigration? They've turned into racists. I thought, I don't want to hear about migrants, I want to hear about UFOs. Those poor migrants are just looking for a better life. I thought, how can people so smart and intelligent suddenly turn into the tribal thinking idiots who believe in border control? I mean, we're all one consciousness, dude. I thought that being the cosmopolitan dude that I am, I'm above such concerns. Only simpletons and small town folk worry about immigration. So I concluded that I'd outgrown Red Ice Radio and was sad to see them devolve into such simple-minded tribal thinking. Unfortunately, there really wasn't an alternative I could turn to, so I continued listening out of habit, hoping it was a phase they'd eventually grow out of. So since 2015, I've listened to a good deal of their shows on immigration, and here's what I've actually learnt once the initial reaction of "oh my god, they're racist" had run its course. 1. Nationalists are some of the most decent and ordinary people you can imagine, and mean no ill will towards migrants. 2. Nationalists are generally well educated and highly intelligent, probably the most red-pilled people in all of politics. 3. That so-called right-wing fascists are greater supporters of free speech and ultimately liberalism than those on the left. So, to begin with, I felt betrayed that people I respected had turned into such close-minded simpletons, but once that initial hysteria had run its course, I began to realise that the only simpleton was myself. And this reaction I experienced when they first went on a nationalist tangent is something I now see in others when the subject of immigration is mentioned, because people tense up, they go into fear mode, and it's a fear that stems from making sure they say the right thing. White people especially are victim to this kind of mentality. They'll fight tooth and nail to prove how cosmopolitan they are, even if they betray their true beliefs in the process. This means they'll support unlimited third world migration despite the higher crime rates it brings. They'll say that budget cuts or lack of police are the cause of gang violence rather than feral black youths. There's a psychological barrier people need to pass before they speak openly about these subjects, but until then they'll resist doing so in order to maintain their cosmopolitan sense of self. As of 2018, 2/3 of knife offenders in London are of black or minority backgrounds. They're calling London the Wild West, and the reason for that is that black inner city youths can't help but stab and shoot each other. In Kenya, you don't have to look over your shoulder, says one Somali teenager who's returned to Africa because London is too unsafe. The uncomfortable truth that people don't want to accept is that the more multicultural your city becomes, the more of a shithole it becomes. Now, does this mean that all countries should become ethno-states? Of course not, but it does mean that some cultures are better than others. Let's just say it's not Hindus, Sikhs or Chinese who are stabbing people or blowing up kids at Ariana Grande concerts. Through fear of being called racist, people have slowly learned to ignore the elephant in the room. They keep quiet like good little sheep, censoring not only their words but their own thoughts, essentially creating their very own thought prison. And this right here is the ultimate goal of political correctness. It's not about preventing discrimination or any noble cause, it's to shape and control the way people think. The elite know this and use it to their advantage. Say anything that isn't in support of the globalist, feminist, multicultural, open borders worldview and the ban hammer comes down hard. Just ask 81-year-old Brexit campaigner Don McNaughton, milkshake attacked for supposedly being a far-right Nazi. Or Jacob Rees-Mogg, or Nigel Farage, or any other Conservative who dares to have a different opinion. So what's to be done? How can we rid ourselves of an ideology that's turned people into such weaklings? Well, speaking as a politically incorrect cunt, I'll tell you. The best way to combat the thought prison that political correctness has become, and by extension the emasculation of men, is to think, speak and act in a politically incorrect way. Now that doesn't mean go out and deliberately offend people, it simply means to say it like it is. Meaning, if someone's delicate sensibilities don't like your choice of words, fuck 'em. Don't cater to weaklings. Catering to weaklings is not only how we got into this mess in the first place, but it's literally going against the principle of evolution, whose purpose is to remove the weak from the gene pool, not elevate them to positions of power. And don't let words like racist or bigot carry you into submission, because these kinds of words really have no weight nowadays. Not if voting Brexit is enough to make you racist. When you learn to say it like it is, you'll find it extremely liberating. For instance, if you think that transgenders are unnatural, or that uncontrolled immigration from the third world has ruined Europe, then say. We have a right to disagree with these things and it doesn't make us bad people. On a broader scale, it's about men reclaiming their masculinity, which 100 years of feminism has taught us to forget. Society is the way it is because men have become weak. Simple as. Just look at the Hound from Game of Thrones. Men were once like this. We were strong, masculine and respected strength. What would the Hound do if confronted by the kind of metrosexual fop who reads Shortlist? We can only imagine. Jordan Peterson writes that boys in the modern world are suffering, and the problem is they're not boyish enough. The reason being that our natural tendencies to run, fight and play are diagnosed as ADHD and are bred out of us by a feminised education system. The end result is that boys learn to suppress their male instincts, leading to an emasculated male population too weak to defend themselves. So if the West is to survive, men need to be men again and embrace their masculinity. Lifting weights will help you do that. Choose free weights over machines. Learning some basic fighting ability would be another. Kickboxing or Muay Thai are good all-rounders. Do Nofap to build up your testosterone. Read some Rush and Rollo Tomasi. And learn to be politically incorrect. Do these things and you'll be fighting the war against men that seeks to turn us away from our nature into weak-willed simpletons. But in the end, political correctness is a feminist concept born from the illogical female mind. This is why you only see it in feminised nations. I once read that were it not for feminism and all its offshoots, Western man would have landed on Mars by now. An exaggeration may be, but you can appreciate the sentiment. You can bet that when we do reach Mars, it'll come from an unfeminised monocultural society like China or Japan, who aren't squabbling over how many genders there are, or worrying about how racist their own cultural symbols might appear. Oh, Sweden. To quote Mayor of London Sadiq Khan, terror attacks are part and parcel of living in a big city. Yeah, unless you're Tokyo or Beijing or any other monocultural city. A more accurate statement would be, terror attacks are part and parcel of living in a multicultural city. If you're offended by that, good. So going back to red ice. To those watching this video who think I'm a bigoted racist such and such, to those I say, I was where you were. I was the same when they started talking about these subjects. Till I snapped out of the politically correct trance and started saying it like it is. And I encourage you to do the same. Be like the Hound, say it like it is, and help put an end to Generation Snowflake. Thanks for watching.